The fluorescent lights at the Interstate 40 rest stop flickered against the pre-dawn darkness, casting harsh shadows across cracked asphalt, where blood would soon stain the ground. Three young men's laughter echoed off concrete walls, while a disabled veteran crawled on his hands and knees, desperately reaching for his scattered medications. In the next 15 minutes, you'll discover how 20 truck drivers turned a brutal assault into the most powerful display of highway justice ever witnessed at mile marker 189. You're alone at a rest stop, 4 a.m., 60 miles from anywhere, watching three men attack a disabled person. Would you intervene or drive away? Comment below what you'd do. The answer will shock you after you hear what actually happened. Marcus Thompson had driven 18-wheelers for 15 years before an IED in Afghanistan stole the use of his left leg. Now, 3 years later, he made his living delivering RVs across the country, stopping every few hours to stretch and manage the phantom pain that haunted him like a ghost. That morning, at the rest stop, he moved slowly from his modified pickup truck, his prosthetic leg clicking softly against the pavement. The medication he carried wasn't just pills. They were his lifeline against agony that civilians could never understand. Marcus had survived Taliban ambushes and roadside bombs, but he never imagined his real battle would come at a highway rest area in the middle of America's heartland. The three men rolled up in a lifted Silverado, music blasting, empty beer cans tumbling from the door as they stumbled out. Tyler, Brad, and Connor, local thugs who treated the isolated rest stop as their personal playground after the bars closed. They spotted Marcus immediately, watched him limping toward the restroom facilities. Tyler nudged his friends, pointing at the veteran's uneven gait. "Check out the gimp," he slurred, loud enough for Marcus to hear. What started as cruel mockery would soon escalate into something far darker. These weren't just drunk kids making poor choices. They were predators who'd found what they thought was perfect prey. Marcus tried to ignore them, focusing on reaching the restroom door, but Tyler stepped directly into his path. "Where you going? Hop along." The mockery dripped like poison from his words. When Marcus attempted to move around him, Brad shoved him hard from behind. The veteran stumbled, his prosthetic leg catching awkwardly on the curb's edge. His medication bottle flew from his pocket, pills scattering across dirty concrete like fallen stars. Connor laughed, stomping on several pills with his boot, grinding them into powder. "Oops, looks like someone's gonna have a rough day." Marcus dropped to one knee, trying to salvage what medicine he could, his hands shaking not from fear, but from fury he fought to control. The rest stop sat like an island in an ocean of darkness, 40 miles from the nearest town in either direction. No cell tower for miles, no highway patrol scheduled to pass for hours. The only witnesses were long-haul truckers catching mandatory rest in their sleepers, and one elderly couple too terrified to leave their RV. The isolation that made this rest stop perfect for tired travelers also made it ideal for predators. The security cameras had been broken for months, budget cuts leaving them as useless decoration. Tyler knew this. He'd been here before, always picking targets who couldn't fight back. But he'd made one crucial mistake. He didn't notice the CB antenna on Marcus's truck, or the ones on every 18-wheeler parked in the shadows. "Please, I need those pills," Marcus said quietly, still on his knee, dignity intact, despite his position. That's when Tyler delivered the kick. His boot connected with Marcus's ribs with a sickening crack, sending the veteran sprawling onto his side. Brad and Connor cheered like spectators at a dogfight. Marcus curled involuntarily, protecting his prosthetic leg's connection point. Damage there meant weeks of agony and immobility. Tyler stood over him, shadow falling across Marcus's face like a shroud. "Maybe you should have stayed in whatever sandbox you came from, cripple." The words hurt worse than the physical blow. Marcus had given his leg for his country, and this was his reward, beaten on American soil by American citizens. Marcus's hand found his phone, but as expected, no signal. Then his fingers touched something else. The small CB radio clipped to his belt, a habit from his trucking days. With trembling fingers, he pressed the transmit button. Breaker, breaker, this is Sandbox Veteran at the westbound 40 rest area. Mile marker 189. 3 hostiles need immediate backup. His military terminology cut through the static like a knife. In 20 sleeping cabs, drivers stirred awake. Channel 19 erupted with responses. 10-4 Sandbox. This is Big Thunder. 2 minutes out. Rolling Thunder acknowledging. Firing up now. Steel Horse, moving your 20. The Brotherhood of the Highway had heard one of their own call for help, and the response was instantaneous. It started as a vibration in the ground, subtle at first, then growing stronger. Tyler paused mid-taunt, his head turning toward the truck parking area. One by one, running lights blazed to life, like eyes opening in the darkness. Air brakes hissed like angry serpents as 20 diesel engines roared to life in unison. The sound was prehistoric, primordial, the roar of metal dragons awakening. Headlights swung around, high beams flooding the rest area with brilliant white light. The convoy moved slowly, deliberately, like predators circling prey. The lead truck, a black Peterbilt with chrome stacks, pulled directly behind Tyler's Silverado, blocking it in. Another positioned itself at the exit ramp. Within 90 seconds, 20 18-wheelers had formed an inescapable circle of steel. If you believe truckers are America's highway guardians, subscribe right now for more true stories like this. Hit the bell. Share with someone who needs hope. Now watch what Big Jim did that changed everything. The door of the lead Peterbilt opened, and Big Jim stepped down. 6'5", 300 pounds, 23 years on the road. His boots hit the asphalt with purpose, each step measured and deliberate. Behind him, more doors opened. Truckers of every age, race, and size emerged from their cabs. Some carried tire thumpers, others just their presence. Big Jim walked directly to Marcus, kneeling beside him with surprising gentleness. "You all right, brother?" he asked, helping Marcus sit up. Then Jim stood, turned to Tyler, and his voice dropped to a growl that seemed to come from the earth itself. "You boys picked the wrong rest stop, and definitely the wrong veteran." Tyler tried to maintain his bravado, but his voice cracked like a teenager's. Connor made a break for the Silverado, but found his path blocked by a trucker named Memphis, arms crossed like a bouncer at the gates of justice. Brad tried to run toward the facilities, but everywhere he turned, another trucker stood waiting. They didn't touch the boys. They didn't need to. The sheer presence of 20 professional drivers, men and women who'd seen every mile of America's darkness and light, created an impenetrable psychological barrier. Tyler pulled out his phone, trying to call for help, but one of the truckers just chuckled. "Ain't no signal here, boy." Just like there wasn't for him when you kicked him. The isolation that had emboldened the bullies now became their prison. The hunters had become the hunted. Big Jim's voice carried across the rest stop like thunder. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to apologize to this veteran, properly. You're going to pick up every single pill you destroyed and pay for his replacements. Then you're going to clean every inch of this rest area until it sparkles." Tyler started to protest, but Jim stepped closer. "Or we can wait here for the state troopers I've already called. I'm sure they'd love to hear about 3 civilians assaulting a disabled veteran. Your choice." The fear in Tyler's eyes was real now. One by one, the 3 bullies dropped to their knees, gathering pills, mumbling apologies that grew more sincere as the reality of their situation sank in. Connor was crying by the end, finally understanding the magnitude of what they'd done. As the bullies cleaned under the watchful eyes of the truckers, Big Jim helped Marcus to his feet. "You drove trucks?" Jim asked. Marcus nodded, explaining his years behind the wheel before Afghanistan. "Then your family," Jim declared, loud enough for all to hear. "Once a trucker, always a trucker." Another driver, a woman named Rosa, brought a first aid kit from her cab. Someone else produced a fresh bottle of water. A driver called Preacher shared his own prescription painkillers, the same brand Marcus had lost. Within minutes, Marcus was surrounded not by attackers but by protectors, each one sharing stories of their own struggles, their own battles. The Brotherhood of the Highway had claimed him as their own. As the first rays of sunlight painted the eastern sky orange and gold, the state troopers arrived. They took statements, arrested the three bullies, but seemed almost redundant. Justice had already been served, not through violence, but through something more powerful: community. The truckers formed an honor line. As Marcus walked back to his pickup, each one shaking his hand or patting his shoulder. Big Jim handed Marcus a CB radio, a new one, top of the line. Channel 19, always monitored. You're never alone on these roads, brother. As Marcus drove away, 20 air horns sounded in unison, a salute that echoed across the plains. The elderly couple in the RV, who'd watched everything, wiped tears from their eyes. That morning at mile marker 189 proved something vital about America's highways. They're not just ribbons of asphalt connecting cities. They're lifelines, watched over by knights of the road. Ordinary people who've chosen to be extraordinary when it matters most. Marcus Thompson still drives his delivery routes, but now he's never alone. Every truck stop, every rest area, he's greeted with nods of recognition. The story of that October morning spread across CB radios from coast to coast, becoming legend. And those three bullies? They learned that karma doesn't always wait for the afterlife. Sometimes it arrives in the form of 2018 wheelers and drivers who refuse to let cruelty win. This story is based on multiple testimonials from truckers and travelers. While details have been combined for narrative impact, the spirit of highway justice and the Brotherhood of American Truckers is absolutely real. Drive safe, and remember, you're never truly alone on America's roads.